So Iceman has caused so many waves throughout the hip hop community. So I want to go over and break down everything we know about Drake's new album, Iceman, that is supposed to be coming out on May 15th, 2026. Thanks for stopping by our news and premiere. Hit that subscribe button if you want to get more music news and music content that is related to music. But let's get right into the business as Drake basically is, letting us know within these ice blocks that the album is coming out on May 15th. We'll go over the entire story right now. So basically, a few days ago, I would say over last weekend, obviously, that was that huge explosion in Toronto, which was insane. If we go a few days after that, pretty much Drake on his Instagram basically says how he made this ice sculpture, and within that ice sculpture was basically the release date of Drake's new album. And he basically put the coordinates on his Instagram story. He let everybody know, and pretty much everybody was trying to break down the ice blocks to find out what was that release date, because everybody was very eager to figure that out from Drake, especially that he did it in such an interesting, magnificent way. So obviously, the Twitch streamer Kanishka pretty much went up to downtown Toronto. He was basically doing everything in his power to try to break open those ice blocks, and basically, he was able to find a package. Within that package was a booklet, and in that booklet, it basically said Drake Iceman May 15th. Now, this is some very crazy news, obviously, but within this booklet, we heard some very interesting things about the album. You've seen that Sexy Red supposed to be on this album. And look, it's a very, when it's Drake season, it's very, very, very fun to look at, you know, who he's having as his features and whatnot. I mean, this is probably Drake's most anticipated album within his entire career, because there is so much pressure on his back for him to produce. And if he can drop a good to amazing album, that will definitely pull back in the fans from the 2024 beef. And obviously, after that, police obviously ended up shutting down the site. And you know, we pretty much know now, a few weeks away for Drake's Iceman. And it's very fun night, fun time, fun season for Drizzy Drake. Now, in terms of, track list rumoring, we heard about Morgan Wallen feature. I don't know how that would turn out, but honestly, for Drake at this point of his career, he just has to get back into his old sound. We heard about how 40 is probably going to be part of the album process, the production process. We've heard about Boy Wonder and Wonder Girl and whatnot. So we might get some of Drake's old producers, and that would help extremely much for this album process. Obviously, the album's in. Drake said on his Instagram story a few nights ago. Now, Drake has made this he's built up the hype very well. I think that everybody, the whole game is on lock, because whenever Drake's dropping an album, you never know what's going to be charting. You never know what's going to be number one on the Billboard Hot 100, because Drake is literally the definition of elite hit making, and I am expecting a few hits on this album, 100%. I hope it's not a double album, because I like Drake's music more. 12 to 13 songs. That's why Nothing Was the Same was so good. I think that Drake right now obviously has a lot to prove, riding off of the 2024 loss in the beef, and then his collaboration album with Party Next Door that people were split on, myself included. I think that right now Drake is in a very interesting spot into his legacy, and this might be a make or break album for his future because if this misses, me myself, obviously, and probably other Drake fans are gonna be like, is Drake not in his artistic sound anymore? Does he still have the flair that he did back in 2015? And is he gonna still be able to put up numbers in the charts like he did back in 2015? Because besides Nokia, we haven't really gotten some big, massive hits from Drake, and it's kind of pretty surprising to see. Obviously, I mean, Drake's like number one in like charting on the billboards. So basically, we know right now that the album is going to be coming out on May 15th. I doubt it doesn't come out then. I think this has been a very fun rollout. I think that he's gotten me and others very intrigued to see what he can come up with, what he's going to sound like artistically. Are we going to see a more melodic and crooning, or are we going to see a more aggressive and rap-centric album? I mean, we just have to wait to see what the final process, the final track list sounds like. I hope it's within 12 to 14 tracks because obviously I don't want it to have too much, extra on it. Like For All the Dogs might have, even though that did have some really good songs like Virginia Beach, First Person Shooter, 8 a.m. in Charlotte. There were a lot of hits on that album as well. Obviously, this song with SZA towards the end of the track list. So we're going to see. I'm very excited to see what Drake has in store. May or may not come out with the review. We'll see what happens on that night and how I'm feeling, days after. I did one for All the Dogs in 23. I don't know. We really just have to see, man, because Drake's an artist who is very intentional and purposeful with how he puts out his music. So, good or not, we all know Drake. We all know Drake really cares about his craft and cares about his music. And Drake is one of the best rappers of all time, one of the 20 best. He's dropped 3 classics. He has a great mixtape with, and if you're reading this, it's too late. You have a really, really good double album with Scorpion. I liked Certified Lover Boy to a certain extent. I liked Her Loss. The collaboration album with Party Next Door had just good songs that give me a hug. I also liked Nokia, and I did like Deeper, the Party Next Door solo cut. So Drake still, can make some solid music. He's still in his late 30s. He has a lot to prove though. The latest, Drake track record hasn't been the best, but I do have faith for Drake because obviously I've followed Drake for so long, and honestly, he's an artist who I really, really, really always praise. I really enjoy his music. I still listen to him to this day, nonstop. And I think Iceman is just gonna be an album where people are gonna be split, like every other Drake album. And I'm gonna go in there with no bias of anything. I liked What Did I Miss to a certain extent. Which one I wasn't crazy on, but it's cool, man. Like Drake has it. Drake knows what to do. Drake is very intentional, like I said earlier, and he knows what he's gonna do for his fans, for everybody who supported him since day one back in 09. So at this point, we really just have to hope and wait for this track list to officially come out on streaming platforms. We might get a lead single for this album, knowing that, he got one for 8 a.m. in Charlotte on his Instagram, and, we're kind of able to hear that. That was a great snippet, and ended up being top 2 on For All the Dogs. So it's going to be very, very fun, man. It's going to be a very fun reaction for me. Let me know what you guys and how you guys are feeling about this new Drake Iceman era. And I'll see y'all later. Subscribe. Peace.